Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to my library tour for 2022. We're going through all the books that I have in my library. Sorry about yesterday's video, which was tilted at a weird angle and gave a lot of you vertigo. I was attacking one particular stubborn little stack of random books. But I have, as you can see, returned to the little book room to just continue along the path that we're going, with one exception. I am not doing the whole bookcase of romance novels. I've got a whole bookcase of these things just sitting here immediately to my right, and it's several hundred romance novels that I would just be going through doing this. I would just be showing you Paul Marin in various states of undress for who knows how many videos. There's probably 6 videos that I would have to take to do that. I'm not against doing that, but I thought I would skip that bookcase for now and just move on to the last bookcase going east to west before we leave this room, and that is the canon. This is the Western canon, which for a long time, the only Western canon collection in this room was the Penguin wall, the Penguin bookcases behind me there that had tons and tons and tons of classics, and still do. A large part of this room, I would imagine that in the gradual evolution, the slow tectonic evolution of this room, the whole thing would end up. It would end up 85% canonical. Those are the books that I return to the most. Those are the books that I love the most. So gradually, it would creep over all of these shelves with a few exceptions, maybe a couple of bookcases. The key is, unlike with the Penguins, that here I am not doing a uniform design. Here, this bookcase of canonical classics that I love so much and return to so much has no real set look to it. It's instead the various editions that I get in the mail or that I really like and find out in the wild. So we'll do the crosswise books first, and then this first shelf. The first crosswise book is a perfect example of the kind of thing that I get in the mail. I got this, it still has a pub sheet in it, from March of 2019. A new edition of the Collected Stories of Eudora Welty. Lovely thing. This replaces a hardcover that I had, was just a drab brown and black. This is a much nicer, very, very nice paperback, so I grabbed it. And then another story collection. These are the Collected Stories of Sean O'Phelan, a great Irish short story writer who's not well enough known in the United States, although you never see an Irish anthology without at least something by him in there. So I grabbed this when I saw it. Then we've got 2 more Transwise books here. The first one is an old Scribner's illustrated by N.C. Wyeth. This is a battered, much-loved old copy of The Yearling, which I naturally wanted to have a little bit extra because of the... see, it's got Wyeth illustrations there. I wanted to have this a little extra. I was waiting for the Brattle to provide a copy of this. This is, of course, the format of this book that I want, is the Scribner's illustrated. But I wanted a little extra because there was just recently a really good biography of the author, which made me immediately want to reread the book. And then the last of these Transwise books is this terrific volume. I have a pub sheet for this as well. It's so nice that I get some of these things from publishers. This was from 2011, so over a decade ago, from W.W. Norton. This is by Sheila Fisher, and this is the Selected Canterbury Tales. A fantastic version that she does with terrific critical apparatus as well. So I have many, many, many editions and attempts and whatnot, summits of Chaucer in this room, all kinds of philosophies and approaches and whatnot. Now, I definitely wanted this one. And that brings us to the books on the shelf. So let's start off here. This is going to make a mess no matter what we do. This first one is an author who needs no introduction. I'm trying to clean up as I go along. That's probably not a good idea. I should probably clean up afterwards. This is the Riverside Shakespeare. The big brown Riverside Shakespeare. I believe this is the 2nd edition. I wonder if this is going to easily tell me that. Well, one way or another, the Riverside Shakespeare, the big fat thing, onion skin paper, double column. The Riverside Shakespeare that came after this, the one that's black with Shakespeare's face on the cover, is not as good. Shakespeare scholarship, especially in academia, is like anything else, prone to winds of fad and fashion. And those have been almost entirely to the detriment of Shakespeare editions like this for the last 30 years. But this is the great Shakespeare edition to have. The introductions, the incredible notes, not only at the bottom of every page, but at the end of every single item. Just a mountain of scholarship, an incredible thing. Lovely, too, the way it's designed, but absolutely amazing to think that an entire generation of college students, this is clearly made for college students, was introduced to one of the world's greatest writers in one of the world's best editions of any writer. I mean, I go back to Shakespeare all the time. Of course, I have several alluring editions as ebooks. But when I'm trying to remember some point of scholarship or some point of historical grounding for one of the plays or whatnot, I go back to this volume. Then we have a whole bunch of illustrated classics, of Scribner illustrated classics. Whole bunch of them in various states of repair. So we have, this is the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. This is not N.C. Wyeth. It is still illustrated, but it's not N.C. Wyeth illustrations. It's still really good. But I don't have this. I found this for $1. I don't have this with illustrated with a dust jacket. I wish I did. I know that there are editions out there that I want more than this. Then this next one is a naked hardcover of Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is obviously the N.C. Wyeth illustrations. And I have this just because I have not found a better condition copy. I grabbed this because I love this edition. I don't want whatever Stevenson is available. I don't want it in any other edition than these. And I just wait because the Brattle will provide. Sooner or later, I will find the whole of the Scribner's run. Not just the handful of books that I have here, but everything else, everything that I'm missing. Sooner or later, I'll find all of them. But then all of the others here are in newish shape with dust jackets. We have A Boy's King Arthur with illustrations by N.C. Wyeth. We have Treasure Island. Robert Louis Stevenson was big on these. Treasure Island, I think, was the one that did the most business for them. We have my favorite Stevenson, The Black Arrow, also with Wyeth illustrations. We have The Last of the Mohicans, just terrific. This was an ex-library copy, so it's got a sticker on there that I'm not willing to bother removing. I don't know how much Cooper, how many Leatherstocking Tales. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how many Wyeth illustrated for Scribner. He did Last of the Mohicans, and he did The Deerslayer. I think there was one other that I just don't have, that I don't remember. And then finally, Paul Questwick's book on Robin Hood, that this was in about as bad a shape as any of these. I grabbed it and reinforced it. There are many collections, recensions, retellings of the Robin Hood stories, but this one has the sentimental value. I was happy to find it. All of these things almost were $1 each, and I would easily yield the whole shelf to Scribner Classics if I could find them. Even Miles Strogoff, I would be happy to get that if I could find it. And the Scottish Chiefs, which is, I think, virtually unreadable. I would still want it. I would still want it in these Scribner illustrated editions. I will find them all eventually. I don't, for instance, once upon a time, in the lifetime of this channel, I had Mysterious Island by Jules Verne, and I don't anymore. I got rid of it. I sent it away to one of you. So I'm still waiting to find that again. And I'm sure there are, aside from Strogoff and Mysterious Island, I'm sure that there's a Scribner illustrated of, at the very least, Around the World in 80 Days that I don't have. But I will find them. I will find them all. Then we have this new thing. This is a translation by John Woods of The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. Lovely thing with deckled edges there. This is from Knopf. Very stately production that I just automatically wanted as soon as I saw it. So that's in here. Then Modern Library. Modern Library went through a period where they did all of their classics in with sort of brown paper lunch bag wrappers that had no art, no design whatsoever, and that's what they look like here. This is the John Dryden translation of Plutarch's Lives, big thick thing with tons of stuff stuffed into it that I go back to a lot. I love it. We're just going to press along here. It doesn't have to be long. We'll go through every shelf of this classics bookcase, And then I will have to, well and truly, I will have to figure out where to go from there, because we'll be out of room in this room, aside from the romance bookcase, which we're not going to do. I know you want to hear about a rake's redemption with his soliflex muscles in the 18th century, but nevertheless, you won't be. And then these next few books are all of a piece. They are all the Lawrence Ellsworth, the ongoing project by Lawrence Ellsworth for Pegasus Books to translate Alexander Dumas. So we have Between Two Kings. These are lovely, lovely editions. They are lavishly done. And Ellsworth is not taking anything for granted. So he's going at these texts, trying to reconstitute them from scratch, which makes amazing productions. Then you have the Red Sphinx. Look at the size of this thing. Just fantastic. I don't actually have all of these. There are a couple of earlier ones here that I don't have. Look at this. Okay, this actually has my Christian Science Monitor review of the Red Sphinx. Fantastic. Okay, I once upon a time I got the Christian Science Monitor, the print copy, in the mail on a regular basis. A little bit harder to do that these days. Then he did the Three Musketeers, of course. Do I have a pub sheet on this thing? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. This was from 2018. The best Three Musketeers. Just wonderful. Just a fantastic thing. The decal edges, just lovely job that he did here. And here is 20 years after, also with a pub sheet in it. So so one of these has my review in it. I think I've reviewed two of these things. This is from 2019. Fantastic. They're all designed this way. They're all designed to look of a piece. And I love them. I'm a huge fan of these. I was singing their praises when very few of my critical brethren were. Now they're on everybody's radar. Of course, there's some Dumas that has not been done by Lawrence Ellsworth, and who knows when that will happen. And then we can finish up this first shelf with this great edition. This is from Doubleday and Doran, so almost 100 years ago, of Seven Pillars of Wisdom. By Lawrence of Arabia, which I have in a Penguin Classic. I have in a Penguin Modern Classic. I have several ebooks of this. I think I have a mass market paperback, but this is my favorite. This is my favorite edition to have. It's heavily illustrated. I have tipped in a huge amount of documentation into this thing over the time that I've been reading it and rereading it. It's my favorite edition of one of the 20th century's greatest works of nonfiction. So I just keep it and refer to it. I found this for $1 at the Brattle. I reinforced it so we can take a pounding. And I try not to pound it, even so, because I love it so much. I want to preserve it. All the canonical classics on these shelves are books that I want to preserve. But as you can see, they're all over the map. Some I got in the mail, some I got for $1, some I've had forever. They're all different shapes and sizes. That's the way this bookcase is going to be. My classics are not... my non-Penguin classics are not uniform. They're just the ones that I like the most. That's all. So that's how are we going to do this here? That's of course the key thing here is the TARDIS-like nature of any of this kind of thing. Is it all going to go back where I originally found it? Is it all going to fit where, like for instance, the Shakespeare should be able to fit in here? Yes. Yes. Okay. It's just a question of Jenga here. I can do that on my own. I don't need to drag you through that. I'm hoping that all of these books will go back on the shelf where I found them, as opposed to the mere act of removing them suddenly changing that. Yes, they did. All right, good. So I will wrap this up and we'll be back next time. Thank you, BookTube.